Hello, all. Good evening to one and all. Welcome to the first English discussion in Arakar TV. This is regarding the OBC reservation. How the OBC population, which is a majority, which consists of the majority of the population, is being continuously bullied, continuously abused, and continuously oppressed by the forward communities and by denying what is their basic right, which is reservation. Along with us today, we have special guests who have joined to discuss regarding the OBC reservation, the past, present, and the future. I welcome G. Karunanidhi, President of the All India OBC Federation, Dr. Elian Naganathan, a social justice warrior, Mr. Saravanan Annadurai, advocate from the DMK, and Jayanathan Karunanidhi, a scholar who is consistently writing regarding the OBC reservation and social justice. Welcome one and all. First of all, sir, I'll like to start with Karunanidhi, sir. Sir, what do you think about the OBC reservation? Why is it important? And basically, who are all the OBCs and who are all the ones who are going to get benefits by this reservation?
Vanakkam, good evening to everybody. Thanks to Arakar TV for organizing such a program, which is very much important at this point of time. The concept of OBC reservation is not only post-independence, but prior to independence also. We had reservation in the then Madras presidency during the Justice Party regime. And earlier also in Kolhapur province, Shahu Maharaj implemented reservation for the backward class up to the extent of 50%. Similarly, Mysore province, they implemented reservation on the backward classes, scheduled caste and tribes. The very concept of this reservation policy came into existence because of the historical discrimination meted out to the majority population in the name of caste. In the Manu Sastra, describes these people as Sudras and Panchamas. So the Manu says, give anything but education to Sudras. That is, education should not be given to the Sudras. So for the more than thousands of years, these majority people were treated as slaves and deprived the basic education, and on account of that, the status also they have been denied and they have been relegated to a slaveryhood. And only after that Britishers came to India, slowly this kind of affirmative action started in certain provinces. But when after India attained independence, when the Constituent Assembly was created and the Constitution was to be drafted under the leadership of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, in addition to Babasaheb Ambedkar, 600 members were also included in the committee. But it is very much saddening to say that none of those 6 members belong to the OBC category. So Periyar was the only leader who pointed out this anomaly and stating that the first committee for the drafting the constitution even do not have a representation of the OBC group. So what happened after that? Because of Ambedkar, we have got certain provisions, but it is an irony that there was no definition about the backward classes in the constitution. There is a definition under Article 366 about scheduled castes and tribes, and the castes have been listed under Article 341 and 342 of the constitution. There is no such a definition about who are the backward classes in the constitution. So that is the major flaw which led to so many problems subsequently. That is what I could perceive. So when the communal Jiva in Madras presidency, which was in work right from 1929, when the constitution came into effect on 26th January 1950, after that it was challenged in the court. Both Madras High Court and Supreme Court stayed the communal Jiva. And the Periyar launched an agitation, and all the leaders in Tamil Nadu were rallied behind him. All these things are known to everybody. It is a history. So the first constitution amendment came into effect, and Article 15(4) was inserted. where it has been clearly mentioned that the socially and educationally backward classes, which was imported from Article 340. Article 340 also says about the socially and education backward classes. So the same word has been brought into effect in Article 15.4. But the Article 340 says that the commission has to be constituted for the welfare of the backward classes. But nothing happened. Only in 1953, the first backward class commission was constituted under the leadership of Kaka Kalekar, who is again a Brahmin. So it is another shocking one that a commission constituted for the welfare of the backward classes do not have a backward class as a chairman, whereas a Brahmin was the chairman. So when he gave the report to the government in 1955, he dissented from the majority views of the members who recommended for reservation for the backward class. He said that I am not subscribing to the views of the members. I don't subscribe to the view of caste being the determining the factor for providing reservation. That was his final submission before the government. So based on that, the report was not even tabled to the parliament. So government shelved that report. So thereafter, nothing happened. Only in 1979, when Janata Party came into being, on 1st January 1979, they constituted the second backward class commission under the leadership of B.P. Mantal. He gave the report in 1980 December to the next Prime Minister, Madam Indira Gandhi. But again, the report was not even tabled in the parliament. It took nearly 6 years to see the light of the report in the parliament, for which from Tamil Nadu, Dravida Kalagam and other parties, they had to conduct agitations. Nearly 40 conferences the DK conducted and 16 agitations to make the government to place the report in the parliament as per the provisions of the constitution. The commission was constituted. So the backward classes were at the central level have been totally neglected throughout the period since independence, and only after 93 the 27% came into being for backward classes with all the riders, 50% ceiling, creamy layer has been inserted, no reservation in promotion. So all these riders only came into effect because there was no all India platform for the backward classes to represent. Nothing happened for the welfare of the backward classes at the central level. Like Tamil Nadu, where we have a history of 100 years, we have a reservation policy right from 1928. So we were able to improve during the successive government post-independence also, from 25% to 31%, again to 50%, and also subcategorization of 30 and 28% for BC and MBC, and subcategorization even among the SCs for 3% other years, and we have a reservation act. So all these things, because of the Dravidian movement, because of the Periyar movement, because of the Justice Party, all this we had a successful carryover of this reservation in Tamil Nadu because we have a social movement in Tamil Nadu. Whereas in the all India level, we don't have a social movement. Even the Sahu Maharaj, he did it in 1900, but nothing, there was no movement in Maharashtra. Similarly, in Mysore also, that Maharaj, he implemented reservation, there is no social movement in Karnataka. Likewise, in Bihar or Uttar Pradesh, no social movement came to support this social class. And everything was left to the wishes of the political parties, and the parties, they took it at their convenience. Yeah, post-Mandal, you can see that Bihar and Uttar Pradesh, which were then having only the Brahmin chief ministers, after post-Mandal, after the implementation of the reservation of 27% in the employment, we had Lalu Prasad, Nitish Kumar, then Mulayam Singh Yadav, Mayawati, all came into the political scene and they were able to occupy the chief ministership, which was not at all available earlier also. But even though they are still alive, they are not taking up this social cause like Tamil Nadu. So there is a lot of difference, which Mandal Commission also in its report has very clearly mentioned how Periyar was successful to bring all the non-Brahmins under one banner and focusing everything against the Brahmins, which was not at all available in North India. So the backward classes were not able to consolidate themselves, and they were being divided in the name of caste with subcaste as well as the various political parties, and they were not able to voice their concern, voice their rights before anybody. So that is the situation today. What happened is all the rights which the backward classes have to get as per the constitution have not been done so far. And if you look at the statistics given by the minister in the parliament, as of latest data, you can find that in 89 secretaries, the representation of OBC is zero. So this is a very, what I can say, it is a very shameful thing that the constitution has a provision for the betterment of the backward classes, but we don't have a representation in the top echelons of power. So this is what the situation is today. So I think we have to move a lot. We have to make a consultation in the North India, and only a social movement can bring change.
Yeah, I will come back to you, sir. I'll come back to you again. I am moving on to Dr. Elan Naganathan, who is a representative of social justice movement in health field, especially when it comes to NEET. When it came to the murder of Anita, he is one of the proponent who was vehemently opposing NEET and who is pro reservation and pro social justice. Sir, as a beneficiary of the reservation scheme, how do you think that reservation has benefited you in particular and the state in general, state of Tamil Nadu in general?
First, I'd like to congratulate Arka TV for this concept of bringing this discussion in English, because that is very vital, I would suggest, because people from rest of India, especially educated people from backward class communities and scheduled caste communities, should understand the Tamil Nadu narration of social justice, so that the social justice being as a movement here, as Sir correctly proposed, how aggressively that we have to work in all aspects, social spheres, political spheres, as well as in various sectors, so that people, social justice becomes a way of life. You asked me personally, how come you are benefited as a social justice, using the social justice ladder to ascend up in both in profession as well as in social life. See, here I see social justice as my right. So by means of right, I mean say, and first I have to understand what the right is. So the forerunners of social justice, the fathers of social justice, especially from the land of Periyar, made me realize, especially the Dravidian movement and the Dravidian leaders, made me realize that it is a right which I have to fight for. No one can grab away my right. So that's the basic essence. They made me realize it's my right, not it is a concession given by any government authorities. So in this caste-stricken, laden society, social justice made me understand, or reservation affirmative action made me understand, it is a ladder which will make me realize my dignity and self-respect in the society. Here, many people think affirmative action as a upper tool for job opportunities and educational opportunities. No. Social justice is to regain my self-respect, which is lost in this caste hierarchy system for the more than 2,500 years. So it is a right to establish my dignity. It's a right to establish my self-respect in all spheres of my life. So that is the first crucial point which I am enjoying right now in the sphere of life, as a medical professional, as a doctor, treating all sections of societies in par. And it also pushes me to push for this rights when it's been curbed or stopped. And it also gives me a historical advantage of agitation. The historical advantage of agitation means the social justice movements from the root, from Periyar, from Arigaranna, from Dr. Kalaignar, we are able to draw inspiration on all socio-political spheres, so that the ladder has been established and ladder has been strengthened, so that many more people who have been deprived of this ladder are made to understand and climb the ladder and fight the cause for us. But unfortunately, especially in Tamil Nadu, the social justice history has to be inculcated in all school curriculum. The various historical struggles, the fact-based struggles, the timeline of various social justice struggle have to be imprinted in all the children's mind. I'm not separating the social justice struggle as a backward class struggle or a scheduled caste struggle. It comes in synergy. The role of Periyar, the role of Dr. Ambedkar should be imbibed by the various children who come up ascend the ladder. No one should think it is because of my own intervention and measures I've ascended up the ladder. A lot of struggle has gone. Many people have really worked hard for it, so that this ladder is being reinforced again and again. Imagine when the first communal GO was being squashed, the communal GO of Justice Party, after its implementation from 1927, it was squashed in 1950, sustaining against the equality concepts of the Constitution. What is the percentage of people studying medicine in Tamil Nadu during 1950? It is less than 5% or 3% belonging to the backward class and depressed classes. But Periyar thought that this struggle is very, very vital. He projected that it is not a small case pertaining to medical college admissions involving few students and few parents. He projected that it is the main fulcrum of the society, especially for the road for inclusive development, and that is Dravidian ethos. So that struggle of social justice struggle, which Periyar literally, the black shirts literally fought hard so that it raises the voices in the parliament, where even Nehru who had mixed views or mixed response against social justice, but he was able to respect the people's struggle done under the leadership of Periyar. And Dr. Ambedkar was rapid enough to amend his own constitution for the first time, so that our reservation has been confirmed by the constitution. So this is the fulcrum here, and this is the message here. Even we shouldn't think it is a very small population, educated population, the rights of the population. It's not so. And it is also should be understood, it is not the fight of the backward classes alone, because if they are going to attack the backward class reservation and bringing impediments to the backward class reservation, the next target fall in place will be the scheduled caste representation and scheduled caste reservation. So that's why I see a synergy. When the SC/ST Act was diluted, especially the Dalit Atrocity Acts were diluted, DMK did a massive protest in Chennai. When this OBC reservation was being affected, Vidudhalai Sirthigal, under the leadership of Dr. Thol Thirumavalavan, did an agitation. Imagine, this is the synergy of Tamil Nadu. And this is the social engineering of Tamil Nadu, where the unition of backward classes and depressed classes, SC/STs, this integration is responsible for the social justice victories in Tamil Nadu. That integration is missing in North. And that is a very, very vital message we have to give today, that it is the summation point of this backward classes, which comprises of most backward classes, depressed classes, as well as the scheduled tribe, in fighting for the cause of social justice against this saffronized government, which tries all aspects to dilute, to tamper the basic fundamentals of the Constitution. So that summation point is quite essential and quite vital. Before that, before I like to conclude my first round, Sai, I would like to quote some basic elements Baba Sahib in his writings have given in volume number 1. See, this is an Hindu religious system, Dr. Ambedkar writes, or take the Hindu social system and examine it in the point of social utility and social justice. It is said that religion is good when it's fresh from the mint, but this religion is a bad kind to start with. This society prescribed by Hindu religion has acted upon as a most demoralization and degrading influence on the society. It is a religion which is not intent to establish liberty, equality, and fraternity. It's against those principles. It is the gospel which proclaims the worship of the Superman, the Brahmin, by the rest of the society. It propounds that Superman and his class alone are born to live and rule. Others are born to serve them and do nothing more. This is the message given by Baba Sahib Ambedkar to us. So if you see the entire mechanism, the administrative bureaucracy of the Delhi, the judicial system of the Supreme Court, the political class ruling the present regime with absolute majority follows this doctrine. And this doctrine is very much imbibed and instilled into their way of life, which is in opposite action to our way of life, where social justice is being the way of life. And that's why the resistance is more, as sir correctly pointed out, is because of the sustained education and orientation program run by social and political Dravidian movements of the state.
Okay. Now moving on to Mr. Saravanan Annadurai. Sir, we have spoken about the history and the benefits of reservation. Every time when the reservation topic comes, the political parties and the central government or some state governments, they point to the court. But the court, which is the Supreme Court, which governs the judicial system in the country, is occupied only by 300 families. That's what I read in a paper. I might be wrong, but seeing that those 300 families control the judgment of 130 crore people. How do you see the judiciary involvement when it comes to the reservation policy, and what are all the roadblocks that reservation faces in the court, and how your party DMK is trying to overcome each hurdle one by one? Kindly specify, sir.
Yeah, see, when we speak about the role of the judiciary in ensuring that the reservations stay in place, we may have different views right now. We may differ that the courts are not strong enough. We may feel that the courts are not to our liking. The judgments are not to our liking in the present circumstances. But if we look at the history of this reservation and how it came about, we cannot deny the role the Supreme Court has played, especially the judgment in the Indira Sani's case. That is one of the most landmark judgments in this whole reservation issue. See, when we speak about reservation, of course, everybody, the previous speakers had clearly illustrated how Tamil Nadu had played a very vital role in ensuring this reservation. The first case before the Supreme Court was from Tamil Nadu. It is the case of the famous case Champakam, State of Madras versus Champakam. So it is challenging the communal GO, which the predecessor, Mr. Karnanidhi, spoke about. Communal GO. The communal GO was challenged before the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court took the view that caste alone cannot be the basis for providing any kind of reservation. Even though we should treat everybody equally, we cannot go on the basis of caste alone. The Supreme Court came to this decision because of Article 15. Article 15, that is in early 1950s, said that no person can be discriminated on the basis of religion, caste, sex, or any other ground. No person shall be discriminated on these grounds. So the Supreme Court said that since you are discriminating on the basis of caste, that is giving someone the privilege on the basis of caste, this GO cannot sustain, and they quashed that GO. So from then started the journey of reservation, issue of reservation and backward classes in the courts. After this judgment came the first amendment to our constitution, and Article 15.4 was introduced. Article 15.4 was introduced to nullify the judgment. Article 15.4 said that the state, that is the state government, that is the state or the central government, can provide by any law special provisions for the upliftment of the educationally, culturally, and socially backward people. So the judgment led to this first amendment, and based after this first amendment, everybody knows that the first backwards commission was formed to identify the backward communities. There were a lot of controversies regarding that first backward commission. Mr. Kaka Kalker, he was the chairman of the committee. He disowned the report, what he had then filed. See, in that report itself, they identified one important factor. That important factor is that educational backwardness can be traced to social backwardness. So they came to a conclusion that if you are socially backward, it means whatever benefits you have derived or whatever benefits or luxuries you have, it doesn't count at all. This is the basis for identifying castes as one of the important factors in determining backwardness. It Supreme Court various cases were there. Some said caste cannot be the only basis on which you can identify backwardness, and some judges said caste is the only way. But everything was set it right by the landmark judgment in the Indira Sani's case. Indira Sani's case, they said caste is one of the most important factor to determine backwardness, and they also gave way to reservations, and they sanctified reservations. See, India is, everybody know, is a constitutional democracy. Constitutional democracy means whatever the laws the states may make, those laws should not violate the constitution. And who will decide whether a particular law is violating the constitution or not is the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court decided on the validity of the office order which was issued based on the Mandal Commission report. So the most important aspects of this Mandal Commission case or this Indira Sani's case was that they said 50% reservations, you can provide for reservations on the basis of caste, on the basis of the caste identified by the backward commission, but the reservation should not exceed 50%. This was one of the foremost embargoes put forward by the Indira Sani's case. And then they also suggested that you identify creamy layer. You find out some other, let this alone be the criteria. Let over a period of time, please allow all the other criteria also. So this sanctified that reservations are a constitutional right. Reservations flow from the constitutionally guaranteed protections. Reservations flow from Article 14, 15, 16. If we look at the naysayers, they all go back to this constitution saying that everybody should be treated equally. For that, the Supreme Court says that equals can be treated equally, but unequals cannot be treated equally. So if you are an unequal, you will have to provide a level playing field. So all these have been made possible only because of the judiciary, only because of such stellar judgments. See, this happened in 1993. But now, right now, we are facing an unprecedented situation. The Supreme Court said economics or economic situation cannot be a criterion for determining backwardness. This is because we all know that economic condition is fungible. I may be a pauper today, I may become a millionaire tomorrow. I may be a millionaire today, I may become a pauper tomorrow. So how do you identify, how do you give those benefits based on this? If we look at the constitutional scheme also, the constitutional scheme is very, very clear. Backwardness is determined by social, cultural, and educational backwardness. They deliberately avoided economics. Supreme Court also affirms that. But what the government has done now, the BJP government has brought it stealthily. This is against the constitution. The challenges are pending before the constitution, but left, right, and center, everywhere, if there is no OBC quota, fine, no problem. A constitutionally mandated OBC quota is available, but we will not give effect to that. But EWS, yes, we will give effect to that. So who is responsible for this? The central government is responsible for this. Because we all know that the central government is busy protecting, is interested in only protecting the upper caste Hindus. They may say that they are a Hindutva government, that they are for the Hindus, but they are not bothered about the backward class Hindus or the Hindus who belong to the very scheduled caste or scheduled tribes. And as far as DMK is concerned, whatever the situation, whenever the situation, there is an attack on this reservation, we have always moved forward. The classic case being now, we have been consistently raising this issue that no OBC quota in the medical seats, in the All India quota medical seats, PG and MBBS. We have been raising this for the last almost more than 1 year. And we have found out that 10,000 seats have gone, 10,000 seats which should have gone to the eligible, meritorious OBC candidates have been usurped by the people belonging to the other categories. This has been made possible by the central government. The central government using devious methods. The MCI guideline is very clear. It says we will follow the quota laws in the respective state governments, but they did not follow that. They cited one pending case which was pending from the year 2010 or something, and based on that case, they say that case is pending, we are not doing that. See, right now, what the judgments, the orders that have come may not be palpable to us, but in a constitutional democracy, we don't have any other choice. We'll have to keep approaching the courts, and when the courts are not able to do anything, the only way is to ensure that the governments which disempower this OBC group, which take away the rights, the constitutionally protected rights of the common man, of the backward classes, are sent out of power. But this is a struggle, as rightly pointed out by Dr. Elilan. We cannot slacken a bit. Unless we keep fighting for this right, we will be pushed backwards.
Okay. Sir, now moving on to Karunanidhi sir. Sir, what do you think is the problem with the OBCs in rest of India, sir? Because in Tamil Nadu and in Kerala to an extent, in southern states, there is some amount of OBC awakening is happening, and reservation policies are being tailor-made to each state, especially in South India. But North Indian OBC leaders, they are in a deep slumber, and they are letting their people down, and they are using them only for their political gains and in bargaining seats. So how do you think, being the president of the All India OBC Forum Federation Secretary, President, how do you think you can change the scene in North India? How difficult it is to convince people in North India to move pro-social justice away from pro-religious sentiments?
Yeah, as I told you earlier, that there is a lack of social movement available in the North India, which is making it very difficult for these backward classes to get consolidated among themselves. And also the political parties who want to take this social justice into their hand, they are reluctant now. They are not up to the expectation of the backward classes. Just I want to give you an example. In this current year, the Central University in Lucknow, the name of the university is Baba Sahib Bhimrao Ambedkar University. That is a central university. The prospectus has been published by the administration. And if you look at the prospectus, to the various graduation and post-graduation and PhD courses, various seats have been mentioned where there is zero reservation for OBC, whereas 10% reservation is applied for EWS. The prospectus clearly mentions about that. And also they mentioned that since we are giving 50% reservation for SC/ST, so we are not able to provide a reservation for OBC. So the administration, the CEO motto considers that this exceeding 50% is limited to only OBC, whereas they are able to give 10% reservation for EWS, which they think that this is beyond that 50%, that is separate. That will not come into this 50% ceiling. So that the administration is able to decide and publish a prospectus, whereas in UP, we have got our political platform which spoke about social justice earlier, which were identified because of this post-Mandal era. This Mulayam Singh party or the Mayavadi party or other local leaders, they were not able to take up this issue. Even though we have now raised the matter with the National Commission for Backward Classes, till date they have not voiced the concern. So this is a very I am not able to understand how they were able to digest these things, because this the political parties, if they take this matter into hand, naturally the support of the backward class people will be there. But they think they don't want to antagonize the upper caste people. Where in UP or Bihar, they think they are more in number. In the sense, percentage-wise consolidation is very strong in the case of upper caste plus Brahmins. That lobby is very strong politically as well as in the executive level. They are very strong. So they think that they don't want to antagonize those people, and they think these backward classes are very much segregated, and they are having affiliation in different political parties. They think it may not be very much palatable to them, but they don't take it as a social justice issue. They take it as a political issue, whether it will be giving them any edge in the election. So to that extent only their focus is there. That is what I think that is a major disadvantage in the North India. That is not confined to Bihar or Uttar Pradesh. In total North India, I see the political parties are behaving like this because the OBCs, they think it is not a consolidated force. They are not going to give vote in favor of any party in a consolidated manner like upper caste or even the Dalits. They think Dalits is a strong force. And any matter affecting Dalits, at least they were able to give some voice. Whereas in respect of OBCs, they are totally silent because the platform is not very much consolidated. They think like that. So the main thing is the social justice associations, where our OBC associations are there, they are now very much aware of all these issues. They are now able to raise these matters to the Parliamentary Committee for OBC and National Commission. To that extent, they are now able to raise these issues in the Parliament also. But in the ground level, this consultation, they are not able to make effectively. I think that is the major drawback I see today. So we are trying to bring a platform where this consultation is taking place among the backward classes and the scheduled caste, so that we can forge a strong social justice platform in North India, and these issues can be settled. That is what I can presume today.
Okay, sir. So now moving on to Dr. Erilan. Sir, regarding the backward communities as such, I see OBCs as and SC/STs as a part of the backwardness, because SC means a scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. Those who are not included in this list are only called as other backward caste. But there is no unity between these two communities. For example, OBCs are not inclined towards the SC/ST's cause, and SC/STs are not inclined towards the OBC's cause. Why is both are economically, I mean, educationally and socially backward only? Since they are scheduled, they are called as scheduled caste. Other backward castes are not scheduled, so they are coming under other backward castes. But there is a difficulty in bringing the unity between these two communities. If they two unite, then there will be a sea of change in reservation, and even political parties which are opposing reservation will become pro-reservation. But that unity is not happening in ground level. Why is that very difficult for us to achieve, sir? We have done that in Tamil Nadu. For example, Dravidian parties, there is an inclusive growth. They bring SC/STs and OBCs together, and hence the state has grown to this level. But this is not happening elsewhere. Why is that, sir?
Before going to the main question, I would like to add few points to what our friend Nadurai Saravanan has spoken about the Supreme Court. See, for 5 to 10 minutes of that. Okay. See,
Sure.
Supreme Court, by and large, the proportional representation of if you do the caste arithmetic equation of the Supreme Court, see, 97 to 98% of the Supreme Court judges belong to the Brahmin community. So it was excellently given by Mark Gallagher He had a wonderful research in a book called Competing Equalities, Law and the Backward Classes in India. So this is an excellent book. It's a must-read book to understand the nature of judgments given by the Supreme Court regarding the matters of reservation. So what he did is a sample study of judgments of 50 judges from the period of 1950 to 1977. That is the period he has taken. He has seen that around 97% of the judgments from various states, around 8 states, regarding the matters of reservation, the courts and the judges have taken a anti-reservation stand. They have struck down the matters of reservation. He also says people have, during their curriculum as a lawyer or during their educative phase, were able to study the fundamentals of equality, fraternity, and liberty from the West, from the post Renaissance England laws, as well as from the US, everything. But when they come to perform as judges, he says their ancestral thought overcomes their studied thought. So what is that ancestral thought? The ancestral thought is the Brahminical thought to put down any form of affirmative action. See, the construct of two major landmark decisions, doctors, a lawyer, our friend, another is Arunan quoted is, one is Indra Save case. If not for Ratnavel Pandian sir, who's a Dravidian man from Tamil Nadu, who's a part of the bench who delivered the judgment, that made a fulcrum. So we need a backward class representation man to push in the concept of social justice and educate his colleagues the concept of social justice, so that to give a judgment with some riders. Okay. Again, the second judgment on 2006. So the Supreme Court ruling on providing 27% reservation in educational institutions. That's the whole controversy is about. Justice Balakrishna's judgment was very clear that providing 27% reservation not only in education institution pertaining to center, as well as any government-aided institutions, including state, except few private or minority institutions. That was the order, very clear order. That will come to the second part, how the bureaucrats manipulated the judgment and wrote the Central Education Act of 2007. But because of Justice Balakrishnan, who was the first Dalit, first scheduled caste Chief Justice of India with the longest tenure, if not for him, the OBC 27% reservation, if at all they are going to talk, won't be possible. So we see that people representing two backward classes communities, when they come, they see justice to be delivered, and they did their job in spite of lot of regulations and resistance. So regarding the constitutional framework, however the good constitution may be, that was Dr. Ambedkar's quote, it is those who are implementing it. If they are not good, it will prove to be bad. However a bad constitution may be, if it's implementing it are good, the people who implement good, it will be proved to be good. So that is from our father of the constitution, and that is a state what we are. Now the mood, now the atmosphere of the Supreme Court, whoever has started giving judgments against reservation in a more technical and acceptable format. The technical acceptable format is for the media and the press to justify the Supreme Court judgment, especially we see in the case of NEET. How Mishra, without hearing any arguments, just like that. How Dave, just like that, provided the judgments out of the textbooks of the constitutions, out of the legal framework, were rightly later on awarded after the retirement of Gangoy Dave, who have become made chairmen later also. So now the mood is anti-reservation judgment to be given, they'll be credited. So the cartel between the Delhi central government bureaucracy, the cartel between the Supreme Court judges and the Advocate General is very much against the concepts of reservation affirmative action, because the cartel stems from elsewhere. So that is my first half. Second half, answering a question of the split between backward classes and scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. See, this split is sustainedly aggravated by the Brahminical ideologues, who are very clearly networking and creating the rift between the backward classes and scheduled caste. And that is the main reason. See, there is definitely a friction definitely a friction because of the graded hierarchy system, which is a part and parcel of this way of life, of this belief system. This graded hierarchy system gives the intermediate caste a little amount of privilege and hegemony to see his caste down under, but not to fight against the caste up under. So he constantly wants to press and suppress in all way of life, social way of life, civil way of life. So that's why in Tamil Nadu, the friction between Dalit communities and backward communities, it's not regarding to cow lynching or beef eating, which is in the north very much, very primitive, very primitive. But here, it is about the social justice delivery and educational opportunity given to scheduled caste community. They were able to compete in professional exams. Imagine the law college exams, the entrance exam cutoff in Tamil Nadu. The SC cutoff is much more higher than the backward class cutoff. So when the social leveling spaces came in, there's a chance of interaction of genders in education institutions, which is leading to rise of intercaste marriage. And that is the friction here perpetuated by the certain few caste elements, so that the divide is made much more wider. So that widening concept has two formats. The widening in north is not because of gender or intercaste marriages. It is because of basic livelihood. People walking with slippers, riding bicycles into the backward classes areas, or or regarding cow lynching mobs you've seen. But in Tamil Nadu, the issue is completely different. It's because of the intercaste marriages is being made an issue. So who are operating? So if you're able to understand the operating mechanism of caste, there is always a background of a saffronization element is happening among the backward classes as well as scheduled castes too. See, what's the purpose of BJP to implement the leaders belonging to backward class community and depressed class community is? They're doing the same social engineering what Dravidian parties are doing, but after that, they're not into the principles of Periyar. They are handling the principles laid on by the RSS or what Dr. Baba Sahib Ambedkar had delivered, that they have to be enslaved with the Brahminical hegemony. No one will allow to question if this rift is maintained. So here only progressive voices. See, if you see the panel, we have progressive voices to talk about OBC reservation. Plus, these are the voices also will talk against caste atrocities and caste killings. It happens only in Tamil Nadu. But if we go to the north, for any progressive issues, the subsequent communities have to fight. The underprivileged communities, scheduled tribe communities, scheduled caste communities have to fight the fight on themselves. They don't have any type of civil society groups comprising of all communities to fight for them. So if you see there's also one more space, a small space, that it was perpetually created in Tamil Nadu for converging certain few factors of the depressed classes to talk against Periyar. There are the Dravidian social political program. There are gaps that we are mature enough to understand, address the gaps. But there are a perpetual campaign has been done in order to underline the gaps rather than forgetting all the benefits and widening the divide. And syllabus was created and perpetuated. Now we find so-called social justice political parties in BJP conclave. We'll discuss about that. Till now, if there's OBC reservation, so much impediment, they should have walked out of it. But we don't. Imagine we have a very strong Dalit leader from the south. Sorry, I'm not mentioning specific names. Who stood for NEET. Who spoke literally nonsense regarding Anita's sacrifice in NEET during the NEET struggles in Tamil Nadu. If you were able to clear that everyone has a connection to the Brahminical hegemony, why you want to talk against Brahminism? Why you talk against Brahminism? So let us fight against each other so that the top order is not disturbed.
Okay, Dr. Hilden. Now Saravanan Nadure has to leave. Let us get some final points from him. Sir, how do you think the judiciary should act? As the Ireland told, there are some judges who are pro-reservation, and they are the reason for pro-reservation judgments. How do you think there can be a reform in judiciary? What will be the basic thing which the judiciary needs to do to itself to reclaim the right of the OBCs and to reclaim the right of Indians as such?
See, it is very right in the sense that the composition of the judges does not reflect the composition of the castes or the composition of other religious groups within the country, definitely. And there is this criticism that upper caste Hindus, they push their views through the judiciary. This is a constant criticism. But there are silver linings too. And as I pointed out this about this Indira Sani judgment, see, we can only fight this through political will. Without political power and political will, this cannot be done. If we look at, that's why I said, look at the judgments from 2014. Prior to 2014, there was need. There all these cases were there, but the Supreme Court did not mandate NEET. We were able to get exemption from NEET. But after 2014, see what happens. So when the government, a powerful government, a majoritarian government, tries to push its agenda, this is what happens. Every institution succumbs. I don't think just because some judge from some different community or a caste is going to adorn the bench, the judgment would have been any different. The entire system, the entire power is thrust upon to ensure that only the upper caste Hindus are benefited. So this is a political conspiracy. We'll have to fight this politically. There is no point in blaming this institution is not doing that, that institution is not doing that. Every institution here is compromised. That is the bottom line. Yeah. And thank you.
Thank you, Saravan.
Thank you, Saravan. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
I got
Sir,
your answer.
coming on to Karunanidhi sir. Sir, what is this creamy layer and what is the logic behind having a creamy layer, sir? Especially when it is OBC, they are having creamy layer, and for SC/STs they are not having, but they are planning to bring OBC creamy layer for SC/STs. But they are giving 10% reservation exclusively for people from the forward community, based on the economic situation. How can we justify these things, and how why our people are so insensitive, and except DMK and RJD, nobody opposed this in the parliament. So can you please explain about the logic behind the creamy layer, sir?
Thank you, sir. Actually, that Indira Sani case, the case was related to the GO issued by Mr. VP Singh to provide 27% reservation for the backward classes, as well as another GO subsequently by PV Narasimha Rao government on 27% reservation, as well as 10% for the poorer sections among the non-reserved groups. These two GOs were challenged in the court. That was the matter before the court. But the 9 judges bench took it as the wide spectrum, and they decided the total reservation policy for the backward classes, which our respected Ratnavel Pandian sir in his judgment itself has referred to. What we are supposed to deliver, we have to deliver. What we are not supposed to say, we should not say. When it comes to creamy layer, he was giving the same words. He said that what I am not supposed to give, why I should give a report. So like that way he opposed this creamy layer concept. He said that first after the independence, first time now you are going to introduce a reservation for the backward classes. While introducing itself, why you are putting all these values? This was the question he posed to his colleagues. But he was a minor, he was a single person, and he could not, to some extent, he was able to influence, but not to the whole other. So the other judges were very much convinced that they went ahead and they made a scheme of this creamy layer concept. And the constitution never speaks about the creamy layer. Nowhere it has been mentioned. As I told earlier also, Article 15.4, Article 340 clearly says about socially and educationally backward classes. This matter was very much debated in Parliament when the first Constitution Amendment came. Some members also argued that instead of socially and educationally, you can add socially, educationally, and economically. Like that, some plea was there in the Parliament also, for which Nehru and Ambedkar replied that it is an economic term, is it is an elastic one. Caste is the static one. So we are not approving this. So they said that only socially and educationally is the correct term. Then also the members were not satisfied that. It was meant for voting also. In the voting, 245 members of the parliament, they voted in favor of socially and educationally backward classes. Only 5 members, they said that economic criteria should be there. So the parliament has rejected that. Constitution, there is no mention about the economic terms. And the Supreme Court, they only introduced this. They mentioned that the advanced sections of the backward classes should be weeded out. So the committee formed by the Narasimha Rao committee, they created additionally, instead of removing some advanced sections, they made this income also, which was not in the judgment. It was never mentioned that it should be based on only the income. Whereas they introduced this income concept also. But as I said that the North India platform was not at all favorable to the backward classes at that point of time specifically, because when VP Singh introduced the reservation, the total North India went into violence by the upper caste people. VP Singh could not continue in office also. He has to resign for a measure that was advanced for the majority population. A prime minister of a country has to resign. That was the fate in this country. So the situation was not conducive for the backward. There was no association, there was no platform, there was nothing to speak for the backward classes when the judgment came. So everybody thought, at least to some extent, we are able to enter. So everybody was in that only mode. So, but our federation, from the beginning, we are saying that this is against the constitution, it should be removed. But subsequently, it was continued. But the upper caste, always they were propagating that caste should not be the criteria. Whenever reservation debate or talk is happening, they will say that it should be only on the basis of economic criteria, not on the basis of the caste. But the same people, period to colonial period, they were the only people based on caste only, they had 100% reservation. No other caste were allowed to have education. That was the story we were told about Ekalaiva and Sambuha. Because they violated this Manusasana, they have been killed or the stump has been cut. The message is you don't have a right to have the education. That was the message given to us. So these people had 100% reservation, and based on by birth they have got the reservation. But when a measure has been taken to address this issue based on the same factor, these people say that how caste can be a criteria. So this is the upper caste argument which has been voiced in the Supreme Court also, as rightly pointed out by Dr. Eliran also, because the composition of judges is not in our favor. See, any matter deciding on the backward classes, we should have a representation in the decision-making process. We don't have a reservation. The article 16.4, what it says clearly, the state has got the powers to provide reservation to the backward classes of citizens and scheduled castes and tribes if the state consider it is not adequately represented, not adequately employed. You should have a difference. So reservation is not about employment. It is about my representation, my empowerment, and I should have a participation in the governance of the country. That is what democracy says. So it is not a question of job. It is my question of my representation at the top post. So this creamy layer totally killed. See, now they have introduced this concept of creamy layer. We have come across nearly 27 years now. So what is the result today? As I told you, 89 secretaries, OBC is 0. This is what the DOPT has placed this data from the parliament before the parliamentary committee for OBC, and the parliamentary committee has reacted to this. They said that because of this creamy layer concept, this situation has come. So you should not have a creamy, further you should not tighten this process. You should not include salary income and other income so that further degradation should not come. So the whole concept of creamy layer has to be revisited. That is what the committee has said. So now what we are saying that Tamil Nadu doesn't have a creamy layer. What is the issue here? We are having best talented people from all the sections in Tamil Nadu. Whether it is a healthcare and any parameter, if you take across India, Tamil Nadu stands unique. So there is no creamy layer. Tamil Nadu did not accept creamy layer. So the creamy layer has totally deprived the chances of the eligible OBC group to enter into the top level, which has resulted in the non-representation of them in the top post. That is the result of this creamy layer. That is why we are opposing that, because it is not at all based on economic criteria. Whether I am rich or poor, I am a Sudra by birth. Because of my economic status, if I become a crorepati, I cannot tomorrow go into Mylapore and get a rented house there. I am not eligible to have that. And I will not become a Brahmin tomorrow. What happened to Satya? How this movement came? He was the mayor of this Madras corporation. He was the richest man. He donated 10,000 rupees to Kapalishwar Koil Kumbhabhishekam. He went to that function. He was not given any place, whereas his pure, who is a Brahmin, was given an elevation on the stage. That only struck his mind, and he went to Dr. Nair and formed this movement. So here, likewise, what happened to Jagajeevan Ram? He was a defense minister, deputy prime minister. He unveiled the statue of Sambhuranand in the Banaras University by remote, not even touched that. For which the Brahmin priests were called, and the statue was purified. So that is the society here we are having. So here, whatever you are by birth, you cannot change your caste. You can change anything. You can change your religion. You can change your economic status, but you cannot change your caste. So caste is the determining factor in this country. So based on that only the measure should be taken. Within that, there is no question of creamy layer, because this is not a question of individuals. This is a question of a group. As a backward class, we are deprived. Our representation should be there. So we should be given the.
Yes, sir, continue, sir.
So it is a question of representation. So creamy layer never comes into the picture at all, and the matter should be dealt only on the social issue. The social issue, we cannot have the economic criteria. For example, this during UPA 2, a commission was constituted under the leadership of retired Major General Simco, SR Simco, to look into the economical reservation. He gave a report stating that you cannot give reservation based on the economic criteria. That was the report by Simco. But even after that, the government, Modi government has given 10%. That is a different question which we have challenged in the Supreme Court. But economic measure is a different thing. What we are there, see, it is a question of identifying the individuals and addressing them to come up for their upliftment. Whereas reservation is a social measure where historical discrimination has happened to bring them, to give them a representation. A measure has been taken. So there is a different plan which economic criteria should not be imposed, and there should not be any confusion on that. And when MGR brought this 9,000 GO, what happened in Tamil Nadu? Everybody opposed and it was withdrawn. Had it continued, I don't think all of us would have been sitting like this and talking today. The situation would have been different. So we have already experience in Tamil Nadu. North India, they have not experienced that. They have to understand the trickiness of the upper caste Brahminical system to impose an economic criteria on backward classes. What they will do if you allow this, tomorrow after 2 or 3 years, they will merge this 27% with 10% reservation and make it a common economically weaker sections reservation. After that, now already they have filed a public interest litigation for SCST in the Supreme Court of India to apply creamy layer for them also.
Yeah.
So judges are they are going to decide a constitutional bench for that. So if it is also coming, then totally the constitution says about social justice that will be automatically removed without any amendment. So the present government thinks that if you bring an amendment, there will be a problem. So without bringing an amendment, by their action itself, they want to remove the whole concept of social justice and bring in this economic criteria so that their upper caste hegemony is always maintained at the top level, and we will be always retained as the slaves of this country, which we are doing pre-colonial period. That is the main aim of this creamy layer concept.
Okay, sir. Now moving on to Dr. Yerilan. Sir, now as Saravanan Annadure before leaving rightly pointed out, the political will and the political movement should be responsible for the reservation to continue. Now we can see that the major opposition party, Congress, is tiptoeing on OBC reservation and trying to force the government to implement proper OBC reservation. How do you see the change? Is there a palpable change that OBC awakening is there throughout India, or is it another political stunt by the National Party?
Sorry, before going that, in order to complement Karnadesi sir, we'll run to a few stats. It will be useful for our readers,
sure.
viewers.
Please
I
go
think, sir, sir is talking about how adequate representation is necessary, and it's a state which will determine reservation according to content. The first data I'll try to give the government departments. We see the total, there are about Group A and Group B offices and representation of SCSTs and OBCs in general. First, the railways. See, 70% general means the upper caste.
Can you just expand it so that others can view it? It is not.
Vignesh, Vignesh, can you do it? It is. I'm not doing it. Vignesh is doing it. Can you expand it, Vignesh?
Vignesh, have a full screen. Can you put it in the full screen?
This is the maximum.
Okay, fine.
So
you can continue then.
Yeah, for the railways is around 68.8% belonging to forward caste, especially in Group A and Group B. OBC representation is just 8%. Scheduled caste representation is just 15%, and scheduled tribe is 7.56%. Then 71 departments of the central government, inclusive, see 62% again forward communities, 14% OBCs, 6% ST, and 15% SC. HRD ministry, 66% forward communities, just 8% OBCs, 6.4 scheduled tribes, and 18% SCs. If you take the cabinet secretary rank, 80.25% belonging to forward communities, 9.26 OBCs, 1.23 ST, and 9% it's going to be SCs. The planning, the Niti Aayog, 70% belonging to OC, and 7.56 OBC, 4.94 ST, and 13.6 SCs. President Secretariat, 95% upper caste forward communities, which predominantly Brahminical communities, 7.6% OBCs, 3.85 scheduled tribe, 13% scheduled caste. Next, I would go on to the UPSC cadres, Group A and Group B. 64% again OC, 11.43 OBC, 4.76 ST, and SC 19.05. So let's go to the education institutions. The next slide, please. The next slide, Vignesh. Yeah, this is about the faculty, especially professors in IIT, Indian Institute of Management, and professors in faculty of Indian Institute of Technology. Source, yeah, people always ask for the sources for Times of India, infographics. See, the general is forward communities, Brahmin communities 74%, OBCs meager 2.6, and SC 0.8, ST 0.2. Faculty in IITs, 81% OC for Brahmin communities, 5.44 OBC, 2.23 SCs, and STs 0.31%. Okay, this is about the various quotas at the level of central universities, 40 central universities. It is from the RTI given to Indian Express. If you see professors, OC, that is private communities, 95%, OBC 0, ST percent 0.7, scheduled caste 3.4, associate professors, general 92.90, OBC 0, ST 1.3, SC 4.96, assistant professors general 66.27, OBC 14%, SC 12%, and ST 5.5. Non-teaching staff 76% forward communities, 10% OBCs, 8% SC, and ST is 4.25%. This was in 2018. This was the data from 2018. Imagine we had a reservation from employment as sir quoted from 1992, OBC reservation with riders. Okay, then about an education institution. Thanks for the slide, Vikesh. Thanks for the slide. For educational institution, yeah, next slide. We can remove the slides. We can remove the slides. I think we are convinced about all the data. So educational institution, it's from 2006 to 2018. See the plight. So OBC reservation with impediments never sorted out. Even ST reservation without creamy layer, there's not adequate representation at all. But see, for OBC, again, it is because of the impediments produced by the Supreme Court by introducing a concept called creamy layer. So what is the justification given for creamy layer by the elite or the pseudo-elite or the upper caste communities or the Supreme Court is it will allow the reservation to reach the most needy people. That's the justification they're giving. Come on, here I'm giving a data of the entire central institutes, entire IITs, the entire central government profile. It is not delivered. It is not delivered, and still they want to create additional impediments in implementation. That's a mindset. That is a mindset. Okay, what is the solution? Again, Tamil Nadu is a solution to give how to penetrate social justice program down under is by giving inner reservation, not by introducing creamy layer. So we have inner reservation for backward class in Tamil Nadu. Because for BC, we have MBC. We have inner reservation experiment among scheduled caste. We have SC Arundan here been satisfied by the Dravidian parties, especially the DMK, which provided both inner reservation for backward communities and inner reservation for depressed communities, scheduled caste communities. That is the formula for making the reservation more penetrative, not creamy layer. So the argument of creamy layer is completely defeated by the implementation defectiveness after 10 years or 15 years in employment as well as in educational institutes. See, so that is the main fulcrum here. See, Mandal very, very clearly said, he reported, I just want to quote him, it is certainly that reservation for OBCs will cause a lot of heartburning to others. Mandal quoted in his commission, which was tabled around 1978 and after its implementation in 1980, but it is not so, it was shelved. That will come to the question which you, first question is what you were asked. But through the mere fact of this heartburning to allow to operate as a moral veto against social reform, a lot of heartburn was caused to the British when they left India. It burns the hearts of all when the black protest against apartheid in South Africa. When higher caste, constituting less than 10% of the country population, subject to rest of the all manner of social injustice, it must have caused a lot of earth burning to the lower caste. But now, the lower caste are asking for a modest share of the national cake of power and prestige. A chorus of alarm is being raised on the plea that this will cause heart burning to the ruling elite. Of all the spacious arguments against reservation for backward class, there is none which beats this one about heart burning in sheer sophistry. So this was Mandal's observation in early as 1980s. Coming to the Congress, see Congress or BJP or even the CPM, I think the Brahminical forces are operating at the top level in all major national parties. So that is a fulcrum I want to highlight here. Initially, they had an host called Congress. They were riding Congress, and they're seeing that the Congress doesn't move away from its concept of opposing reservation in any format. Why Ambedkar had to resign? Dr. Ambedkar had to resign is one of the main conditions because OBC Commission was not kept in place. And that is the reason he also meant one of the main reasons, apart from the Intercourt bill, that the OBC Commission was not placed. He resigned from the cabinet. In order to satisfy that time, Kalekal Commission was done. It was shelved. Second, Mandal Commission was shelved by Indira Gandhi from 1980. It was not talked about. Then when Dr. VP Singh, again, Tamil Nadu had to send his emissaries, social justice emissaries to the north, especially Uttar Pradesh. especially the Dravidian social movement sent its emissaries to educate the northern people about reservation. They did a phenomenal job. Now, the few of the so-called members of BJP are questioning the social justice reformers of South India, why they are not opposing the creamy layer when they were in power. But you have to imagine the concept of reservation was educated from the north, from the emissaries of social justice movement from South India only, especially from Tamil Nadu only. They did lot of, right from Asriyar Veeramani, Ayya Ane Muthu, they did a phenomenal job. Now we have the legendary Karnadi sir among us, who did a phenomenal travel across the country, meeting social activities, educating them about the reservation, essence of reservation, meeting political leaders, bringing among consensus, and the struggle is still on. But what happened when VP Singh came in for the reservation constitutional thing? Rajiv Gandhi spoke nearly for 3.5 hours against reservation. That we was being, who's feeding Rajiv Gandhi? Sir, next question, right? Then when VP Singh was moved away, then this social engineering politics were taken by BJP in the form of vote bank. So they brought in leaders belonging to backward communities. Again, it's a social engineering. So no more forward committee leaders were brought into BJP, both in the state and the center. Why? Because they did social engineering here within the party so that the party gets more penetrative among the people and consolidated as votes. But whom they are loyal to? They are loyal to the RSS ideology. What the Tilagar's ideology about denying education to the masses. I would quote Congressman K.R. Narayanan sir, the first Dalit president of India. He served as a small stint as a Minister for State for Planning. He was able to give us in his interview about the discussions happening in Planning Commission, how to prevent education to the masses. Because when you're going to educate the masses, the ignorance will move and they'll move against the country. That was the mindset of the Planning Commission members. K.R. Narayanan himself has quoted. Who formulated the Planning Commission then? What happened to Kamaraj, our Chief Minister? Our man went to Central Planning Commission for implementation of midday meal program. He asked funds from the Central Commission. They ridiculed him. They insulted him. Then he turned down, then he prepared his own funds to implement the midday meal program for delivery of education. So this resistance, especially resistance, again, within the Congress came only from the South, especially from Tamil Nadu. They had to educate and educate and educate. Okay, what was the election manifesto of UPA 1 in 2004 MP election? It was an election manifesto developed by Social Justice Party of Tamil Nadu, especially in DMK, which was again refresh the memory of implementation of OBC reservation content in education institution. If you go and analyze the central election 2004 DMK manifesto of 2004, it is clearly written that we're going to implement. That's what happened. Whenever the UPA 1 government formed, then the concept of 27% reservation in education institution came up in order to form a fact. Who resisted? Bharatwaj, the law minister, resisted. Whom he belongs to? He belongs to the Congress. He made all type of impediments. Then forces, G. Karnadi sir will know the history. Forces of Dravidian leaders, both political and social from Tamil Nadu, especially the cabinet minister T.R. Bolu, then health minister Anbumani Ramdas, had to fight with Bharatwaj. And what happened next? Then they said they devised a formula called 27% reservation will be given in quantum basis. Who developed that formula? 9% formula. Who developed that formula? Finance Ministry. Who was the finance minister at that point of time? It was a congressman from Tamil Nadu. I'm failing to mention the name. Why the impediments? So when you're out of power, you want to implement reservation, you fight for information. When you're power, again your Brahminical economy builds in. And that legendary mistake is BJP now. Right? And that is responsible. Suppose if Congress was dedicated enough to implement Mandal Commission in 1980, BJP would not have risen up. If Congress would have 100% believed and implemented 27% reservation without any riders as a social justice plan, imagine the backward class communities and depressed classes would be in Congress world. Now what's happening now? Clearly they see the backward class representation of Modi there, and summation of Ramvilas Paswan Athwale as a depressed class champion. They were able to cleverly consolidate the non-majority Dalit votes against BSP, non-majority OBC votes against Yadav, and submit them. And Congress here has no space. They don't know how to do mandal politics. They don't know how to do how social justice politics, because their inner core is like that. So if at all, if there's chance to survive, they've got to talk about Dravidian politics in the center. That's the only way forward. They have to talk about social justice. They got to talk about state federalism. That is the only way forward.
Okay. Now coming to we're almost closing the session now. Sir, I'll like to ask 3 questions which are prominently asked against the OBCs by the forward communities. These are the questions which we are facing regularly in the public forum. We need very short answers so that we can counter these questions, sir. First question is, reservation is a privilege. Is it a privilege, sir?
It's a right.
It's a right. Okay. Next question. Okay, sir. Next question. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Next question is, how long should we have the reservation?
As long as caste is there, we should have.
Okay.
Caste exists.
Okay, sir. Now, the last question which we are facing is, only the rich from the OBCs and rich from the SCs or SC/STs are occupying the reservation. It is not actually penetrating to the poor. Why should you fight for only the rich? The poor should be given an opportunity. This is the question we are facing, sir. What will be your answer, sir? This is the final question.
There is any data from the government that only the rich people have occupied the position? When myself as well as Dr. Elilan showed the data, when we are zero on the top level, where is the question of any rich OBC or poor OBC? OBC is not at all allowed in the top echelons. Then where is the question of rich or poor? See, when, for example, in Tamil Nadu, we have an education system where the backward classes are being taken. There is a free hostel, free scholarship, everything is there based on some criteria. Correct? For SCs also it is there. Even at the central level, there is a scholarship scheme for the backward classes, which is only 25 rupees per month for a BC. So we fought against the government. What is this 25 rupees? You have to enhance that. Now only they have brought to nearly 250 rupees. So the question of addressing the poor or rich among the groups is by only these kind of incentives, scholarship schemes and other things you have to encourage. Another example I want to tell that in Delhi University this year, the prospectus says the application fee for the backward classes is 750. For EWS, it is 300. So whether these people are only arguing that the rich people are going, poor people are going, so they don't have anything about the poor people in mind. They want to just confuse the people, and any system, the people who will be the first generation, second generation, they will be able to come up the ladder. But like Tamil Nadu, we have to address the lower strata of the society also, how to uplift them through other economic support. That way we can do it, which they are not ready to for that. They want to remove these so-called rich people among the backward classes who are eligible to compete with the upper caste, remove them, and also put the lower strata of the society so that they will not come to the field. The seats will be remaining vacant. That will be transferred to the general quota, where they can concentrate the full quota for themselves without any reservation policy. That is the main aim. That is why this kind of argument is being.
Okay. Okay, sir. Now we have come to the end of the program. I'd like to thank Saravanan Annadurai, Dr. Elilan and Karunanidhi sir for joining this. Yes.
Sorry, with this program, I just want one point. Shall I?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Sure.
You asked 3 sharp questions to sir, and he had a sharp reply, right? But I want to propose an utopian model. Okay, an utopian model. I would say in this framework of, suppose for example we need IITs and IIMs. So you can call them as welfare IITs or welfare IIMs or welfare medical college institution based on 100% reservation. Okay, 10 years we'll run it based on 100% reservation, which are proper representation of the community are studying within the institute. Similar to Michigan judgment in US, where affirmative action, where the institute should represent the community which is around the community, and a proportion composition. We'll see the results after 10 years, where we'll have discoveries, inventions, which is necessity for our land. We'll have some political administrators. We'll have thousands of Dr. Ambedkar to save this country. So that is what they don't want, right? So with that, I'll give it to you. Yep.
Yeah, okay. Now, I'd like to thank Karunanidhi sir, Dr. Ailan, Saravanan Anna, and Advocate Saravanan Annadurai for joining us. The point Tarakar TV would like to make is, it is the forward community belonging VP Singh who gave the Mandal Commission, and it was Baba Sahib Ambedkar who protested and fought for the OBC reservation from the beginning. Hence, the OBC should join hands with the SC, ST community, as well as the people who are forward thinking from forward community as well. It's a long march, and we should start our movement with little baby steps, and we should reach our goal in the future. Thank you, one and all, for participating. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.